Hey, for Sunday, August 16th, 2020, this is the one and only Pro and Con Show, and I am your one and only host, Michael James. Thank you for watching the show. So, purpose of the show, the name, Pro and Con Show, okay? Better citizens, focus on the facts, the who, the what, the where, and the when. Recognize that the issues before us as a community, as a nation, are more complex than fit in a few words on a bumper sticker or on a hat, and so have to be better citizens. It's going to take a little bit of time, a few hours a month, pro and con, good and bad, for and against. Okay. Now today's show is called DERECHO. Now what is that? Aha! So an opportunity to learn a new word. Increase our vocabularies as a nation. So what happened is that we had a series of storms come through the Midwest, and it really devastated areas in Iowa, but also in Illinois and Minnesota and in Wisconsin. So those Midwestern area, and rather than it be a series of tornadoes, it was something called a derecho. So what is that? Well, it's spelled D-E-R-E-C-H-O, but it's pronounced derecho. Okay? And it comes from, so I'll show you that on the screen. Dun, dun, dun. There it is. And where does that come from? Well, it comes from Spanish, and it's derecho is an implication of straight, and it's a widespread, long-lived, straight-line windstorm associated with fast-moving group of severe thunderstorms known as a mesoscale convective system. Basically, what this is, apparently, is effectively a horizontal tornado, a big horizontal tornado that just goes ripping through and has hurricane and or tornado kind of wind forces in it. And so there were areas of Iowa just absolutely devastated by this, and so winds of 75, 85, 95 miles an hour. The storm went racing through at my oldest brother said that at least in his area, they were saying it was 75 to 80 miles an hour. This thing was speeding across the landscape, and it was doing just horrible crop damage, destroying buildings that it came across, knocking down a whole bunch of trees down everywhere, and not uprooted but snapped off in this storm. So really a devastating storm. And so why do I want to talk about it? Well, there's a name for it, right? Derecho and derecho, and so they've existed for a period of time. Otherwise there wouldn't be a name for it. Okay. But the strength of these storms, the occurrence of these storms, the severity of these storms has been on the increase, and that is because there is more energy in the environment, in our atmosphere, than there used to be. And that is because there's more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere than there used to be. It was soundly 2 times the normal level from over the thousands of years. It's ramped up rapidly over the last roughly 100 years, and now and I've shown in past shows you can do these simple experiments where you fill containers of just simple plastic containers with different mixtures of carbon dioxide and nitrogen and oxygen, in other words, in air. You just put in slightly different mixtures of carbon dioxide in that, the normal atmosphere, and then shine the same lights on it, and you will get a markedly different change in the temperature rise. And that's because CO2 absorbs the energy. It holds it in, and it basically causes our environment to heat up, and that's energy for storms like this. So, and this gets back to, we have to deal with this, and we have to deal with it effectively. Climate change is a real thing. And one of the things, and the reason why I'm talking about it, and I've talked about it a few times in the past, I'll talk about it a few times in the future, and many other people are talking about it, is because we as humans are really bad at doing things that are in our best interests if it isn't causing us extreme harm at the moment. So, for example, if there were a tornado knocking down your house on a regular basis, and then, that could be traced directly to climate change, then you would get serious about climate change. But the things are somewhat disconnected, and it doesn't happen to everyone, and the water, ice is melting at the caps, and where the water is rising, but again, that does not affect everyone like instantaneously. And the very best analogy I can say is that, do you brush your teeth? Folks, do you brush your teeth? And hopefully the answer is yes. And why do you do that? Well, because we know that there's a tie between brushing your teeth on a regular basis, that's cleaning off the sugars and the bacteria and stuff associated with the things that you're eating, and that preserves your teeth so that you have them when you're 80 and 90 years old, as opposed to having to, very limited food and stuff that you can eat because your teeth are all gone. They've rotted out of your head. And this thing with the weather, it's the exact same thing, only it's on a global scale. It's on a global scale. We have to recognize that there is a responsibility on the part of all of us as a community, as individuals, as a nation, and as a species around the world. We are doing this to the planet. And we have to, just like brushing your teeth, we have to take certain things as responsibilities, and we have to fix them. And so, changing things to things that are more environmentally friendly, that's great, but that's going to take decades, and we don't have that, which again, so I talk about recycling the CO2, which is a brilliant idea, and we have to do this. We have to build these recycling plants, these recycling factories, for lack of a better word, and allow us to suck a lot of the CO2 out of the atmosphere and recycle it. And then we can have this program where we can stepwise get rid of a bunch of the CO2 fairly quickly, and then stepwise, decide how we're going to address this over the long term. But going back to this thing, DERECHO, this is a real thing, and they're happening more and more, just like tornadoes are happening more and more, and hurricanes are happening more and more, and the intensity of all these storms is increasing, and it's because of all the energy that is being held within the atmosphere by the greatly increased levels of carbon dioxide. So it's a real thing. Climate change is a real thing. Again, you can demonstrate it on a desktop with small, exhibits of, or or small samples of atmosphere with the different CO2 levels in it. And we, just like brushing our teeth, we have to do this, okay? We, you and I, we have to do this thing for the planet. And one last thing about that is, so the planet, is this complex environment. And there's all these things that react with each other. So animals and plants and stuff like that. There's this whole ecology, right? And that's all been in balance, and it's been this way for many years, thousands of years. Okay. So. And then the other thing about this is this planet is the only place that we have. It is our home. It's our only home. And just like, if you have a house, a townhome, a house or whatever, you need to maintain that home. You need to maintain the roof. You need to maintain the walls and stuff like that, because if you don't, then water starts getting in, you get degradation and stuff, and your home will fall apart. So we need to maintain the earth. Well, how do you maintain it? Well, just like your home, you maintain it the way it was, okay? So you keep, good roofing materials and stuff like that. Well, with our home, we need to limit the toxic things we put in the environment, limit the plastics and stuff that never degrade, and definitely limit the CO2 or recycle the CO2 so that it is at normal levels. Why? Because it's our home. So we need to be replanting a lot of the trees that we've lost over the years because we've been negligent. We've been tearing down the roof of our house, tearing down the walls. We need to stop it, okay? Climate change is real. This planet is our only home. There is no other place to go. And for the sake of ourselves and our children and the generations after them, we all, them, us, all of us, have to take on the responsibility of caring for this home, this one singular, wonderful place we call Earth. For the Pro and Con Show, for a new word, DERECHO, I'm Michael Ott, and until the next show, bye for now.